It's certainly a rare sight to see a Netflix original become critically acclaimed in recent memory. Arcane, based on that rage-bang game League of Legends, was critically acclaimed and it was approved by fans. But yeah, not a whole lot. What I mean by critically acclaimed, that it's not a live-action remake of a popular show. So no, that One Piece does not count. It's like an actual original story, which has taken inspirations like all created stories do. The appeal for the show personally stems from curiosity, not really vampires and magic, cause me hoping it's not some Twilight shit. But it was a nice name and a synopsis for a show to reel you in. Now, I would have never heard of the show in the first place if it wasn't for a couple of my buddies recommending it to me, cause my time with Netflix has been very minimal, rightfully so, but 4 seasons later, surprise, nobody else talks about the show. It was inspired by the popular game Castlevania and the very old anime Hellsing, but it has its own interesting twists to it. Now, onto the plot. The plot of the show follows many storylines: Dracula's love rage, the plot to overthrow Dracula, Dracula getting hunted by her son, Belmont, a female Doctor Strange. Yeah, it's pretty rough for Dracula right now. Now, I never expected a show to take such a dark turn 2 minutes in after setting up the love connection between a woman wanting to be a doctor and a vampire who lives in a castle with a crap ton of magic and ideas to help heal people. And then later on, she gets burned on a stick in front of the townsfolk and the bishop, who views religion as the only method to a way of life and believes science is devil magic. Understandably so, Dracula is pissed off that his wife is torched in front of thousands. He commits genocide and all of the human race. Bones crackling, people's face ripped off, thrown around, blood splattering everywhere. It's gruesome, unexpected. The war between vampires and humans is on, and Belma, a drunken monster killer, meets with the speakers of the tarnished town after a bar fight and makes a promise to bring home the elder's granddaughter, Sypha, who's been trapped underground in search for Alucard, who is the only one that can stop Dracula's wrath. Once they reach his tomb, they awaken, but Belmont lusts to take down vampire clouds from his reality, and he begins to battle with the half-human, half-vampire and manages his own despite not having magical powers. The two manage to side their differences for the better cause and join together to take down Dracula. Despite the tide in Dracula's favor, there are many vampires whom question his place and his plans. And when Carmilla from Styria arrives, she conspires with many of Dracula's loyalists to overthrow Dracula so she can have the castle to her own, similar to what she did in Styria many years ago, killing its prior ruler. Carmilla's scheming eventually comes to a stop as Isaac infiltrates her castle, resulting in Carmilla taking her own life as she doesn't want to die at the hands of Isaac. Alucard and his friends Sypha and Belma, defeating Dracula, have their own issue with Death himself, who rises to bring Dracula back from hell, but Trevor heroically almost sacrifices himself to defeat Death, and he lives another day to witness the birth of his own child, extending his family's heritage. You know, the biggest worry after watching the first episode was the lack of development between the characters given how short each episode is, with each season containing very few episodes except for the final season, which at most was 10 episodes, as well as the sudden change of events with no preceding build up to such a heating situation of Lisa being torched in front of many. But the show cleverly makes you have a perception of how close Lisa and Dracula were. Throughout the continuous bloodlust Dracula desires just for the love for his wife, that many believe he's become weak and not also powerful since the war began. The writers did such a good job at conveying a tragic tale for Dracula than more of a really evil one. Actually, never mind, he was pretty evil, but it was still tragic at the same time. He was prepared and ready to accept humans. He even began walking like man in respect to his wife. But unfortunately, it resulted in him being not able to reach his wife in time, as the bishop preached about the sin of using science as a form of healing. But understandably so, Dracula was extremely pissed off and even gave the town a year to pretty much forgive. But even that was too much for them, as they celebrated her death a year later, and Dracula had no option for himself but to declare war against humans and commit full-blown genocide. Even his son Alucard, although grieves with him, sees the error in Dracula's reaction and is forced to step in and kill his father and save him from the vengeful path. Once the three infiltrate his castle, all three of them face Dracula, but he's far too powerful and beats them until he comes into realization of him trying to kill his own son, the last beacon of his wife, to him. And he surrenders in the name of the love for his wife and took one trip to hell to meet her. They eventually do return when Death pretty much has an orgasm of Lisa and Dracula suffering in one body, because death and killing to him is very soothing to watch. with Belmont going one-on-one with Death himself in an epic battle, ends up defeating him in a fake-out sacrifice. Dracula and Lisa are free to live their life and leaving their son to live in peace, instead of spending their time in hell. Dracula finally found peace with himself. I love that the writers didn't make up some redemption arc for Dracula. He stood by his plan for so long, but putting his guard down, he got stabbed by his own son. And once he returned, he never quested to undo his wrongs. He accepted what he did, and he simply lives his life in peace with his wife. The Soul is just filled with many great characters who learn from their own lessons and go on their own journey through self-improvement, such as Hector, who faced consequences for betraying his loyalty towards Dracula, who pretty much saved him by bringing him in, and quite frankly became a favorite of Dracula's. Or Isaac, who was abused as a child, him having the protective nature and accepting the connection from Dracula. Despite the end result, he never broke his loyalty towards Dracula and never killed Hector, who even he swore to kill for his betrayal towards Dracula. He sided with Hector to take down Carmilla. But by far, my favorite character is definitely Trevor Belmar, a drunkard monster slayer who keeps to himself and sort of has a selfish attitude. Right at the start, he's not a big fan of the bishop, of him being a prick and using his faith as a problem-solving mechanism to end pretty much every bad situation. And quite frankly, he actually agrees with Dracula's reaction, but doesn't support mass genocide. And whatever comes to the bishop is much deserved. He refuses to help others despite eventually turning to save the elder from shitty priests, who are harassing him, and bonding with Sypha he saw as a new light to life, of leaving his selfish personality and use his skills to help others and save innocents. In the end, he risked his own life and squared off with Death himself in an unselfish act. Show is fantastic. I know it's more of a short review, but I highly recommend it. So yeah, see ya.